Hello there. Let's get straight into what this video is about, because I've kind of been trying to find tools and tips and things like that to try and record loud sounds. First off, what we're doing is we're recording with a DBX286s as a preamplifier connected into a portable F8 Zoom, which will be recording our sounds for us. And that we're using a microphone TLM102 from Newman. Also, we'll be discussing briefly as well the NTG3 from Rode, and having that connected into the setup. Now, I use those two microphones for different purposes. The TLM102 I tend to use for voices or screaming or shouts and voices and things like that. The NTG3 I find is actually not too bad for sound effects recordings and trying to isolate sounds. At the moment, I'm using this whole setup with the NTG3. So I'm recording my voice with the NTG3. Chances are that I've edited. If I have edited, I'll let you know at the end of the video.
Ah! Ha! Ah! 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 Ha! Ah! 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 Ah!
I'm not going to get into too many technical specifications. I'm probably just going to go talk about the settings of the items. I'm going to just give you a disclaimer right now. I do this as an amateur. I'm not a professional or anything like that. There are probably 100 million different ways to do this better and more cost effective than what I'm doing. And the chances are you probably don't even need this kind of setup. But it was an interesting setup, and I thought I'd just talk about it because I can pack this whole thing into my car using a inverter, basically, which plugs into the battery of the car through the cigarette lighter, basically, yeah. Now, the inverter I'm using, basically, it's supposed to switch itself off before your batteries run out. With the current DBX, the DBX is the only thing I plug into there, and that uses, I think, about 4 amps. So I've been told that if you're going to run, maybe 2 DBXSs through through your car battery, that you'll probably get a good decent hour or so, or possibly even more out of that being left on. I wouldn't use this kind of setup for any prolonged recording sessions that are going to take more than an hour. If you're just out to quickly record a couple of sounds or something along those lines, or maybe some sound effects, you should be fine with that. If you're constantly on the go and the battery's being recharged while you're driving, then won't be so much of a problem. With the DBX 286s, I generally record with a gain setting of between 50 and 30 plus dB, while on the F8 Zoom, I'll have it recording with about 15 plus dB. If I'm using the TLM102 microphone. If I'm recording sound effects with the Rode NTG3, I'll probably put the recording volume down to 13 plus dB on the trim for the F8. The compression on the DBX is listed as drive. I tend to set this up to about 5, or just before 5. I tend to have the DS sitting between 1K and 4K, like directly in the middle, somewhere in between there. The threshold of which I put to around about 4. The expander is basically your onboard noise gate. I tend to have that at somewhere between 0 and -30. You'll still record background noises, but it tends to do a nice job of lowering those levels so that later it becomes really easy to noise gate it. The threshold of which I have it at 2 to 1. And the output I leave at 0.